In January of 1986, the Sheriff's Office worked a homicide case where an unidentified female was found west of Salina on I-70, had been dumped in a creek, Mulberry Creek. We've worked for the last 33 years on that case. We've had, of course, several press conferences, put out quite a bit of information about hoping to find out who she was or link her to missing persons. We've had a lot of missing persons leads. They've all been ruled out. We've had some that are close, but the time frame doesn't match, or for whatever reason, it didn't work out. Of course, back then DNA wasn't a thing. We sought a court order to exhume her body, hoping that the DNA evidence would help us in this process. That was granted. We also got a search warrant to collect it. Earlier this year, I was contacted by the FBI. They had an agency, Interpol had contacted them, a missing person overseas that we'd looked at before. We couldn't exclude her, but not everything matched. So we don't know if that's her or not. But the FBI was opened a case for us, and so they offered their services to do the collection and to do all the testing. So with that offer, we decided that was a good thing to accept. We accepted their offer, and they worked with us. So we got the order. The investigation's still ours, but they're assisting us, and they came yesterday with their team. And the exhumation started shortly after 8 o'clock and was done by 10. They collected their evidence, and by 11:30, she'd been reburied. We had several agencies assist us, of course, the county attorney's office, police department's evidence technician came, the FBI, Gypsum Hill Cemetery staff, Ryan's Mortuary here in Salina donated a coffin when she was buried the first time, and they replaced that with a new one, which was very appreciated. And Father Keith Weber from the Salina Diocese presided, so we do appreciate everything everybody's done, but we don't have a suspect, and we don't have her identity, and it's going to be 6 to 8 months is what they told me for results, so that's kind of what we're waiting for.
What is the hope with kind of modern DNA? I know there's a lot of familial DNA out there now. 23andMe, you can link up, find family members. Is that kind of the hope here?
Well, that's one of the hopes. This will also rule in or rule out the one from overseas, the one that Interpol was looking at. They have DNA for her, but we didn't have a DNA sample to match. So, a lot of her dental records matched, some didn't. There were things in her dental records that weren't right. So she had teeth that were missing now that were in her dental records before, so we couldn't say yes or no. There were a lot of it matched, a lot of it didn't, but that's with as many people as there are in the world, but the time frame matched, so we don't know.
Sheriff, can you tell us what country or she may have come
Don't
from?
know. Mike Smith may know.
Years back when I contacted Interpol and spoke with it, Belgium is about as close as I could get you to. Netherlands was through the Netherlands National Police that we spoke with on her.
Mike, how long have you worked on this case?
I was promoted to Investigations Division here in 2000, and Under Sheriff Kokonowski at that time assigned me to that case, so I've held that case now since 2000.
How do you work a case like this?
The way we're doing it right now. You just, every lead that comes in, you follow it up. A lot of hours spent behind the computer looking at missing people's sites that they put on there, whether it be like Doe Network, Missing Children's Network, something along that lines, or any leads that come in, phone calls, computer emails.
Are you still getting some from time to time?
Yes, they still roll in from time to time. A lot of those have already been looked at several years back, but I keep a list of all the females that we have looked at.
When you first got this case, this case has been around since, what, 86, January of 86. What were your thoughts when you first got the case? Do you think we'd solve it eventually?
I believe so, yeah. I think there's always a good case to get a solve on any case that's like this. Of course, we're playing a little catch-up baseball on this one, but I think with modern technology rolling around now, there'll be a good chance.
Talked to a few people, seems like people haven't forgotten about this case here in Salina, they still remember.
Yes.
Do you ever talk to anybody locally who says what's going on, or do we have any leads, or are the leads coming from places other than Salina?
I get assorted emails from, whether it be a Doe network site, something along that lines, a missing person site, somebody that will see it someplace on YouTube. It's on YouTube, it's on social media. Some of those leads come in from there. They just now find out about it, but there was a big media blitz on her back in the early 2000s when I took over the case. She was put on social media.
Challenges of working a case this old?
Yes, lots of them.
Walk me through a couple of those.
Well, reports were done a little bit different back then. Some of the evidence that was collected and stored, of course, you know, we're looking at 33 years now. When I took that case over, we had to go back and review all the evidence that was collected. We had to run down some leads that, you know, we found by reviewing the case file, run down some extra leads and look at stuff like that. And then start at square one is basically what I did. I picked up where they left off and just took it from there.
Do you think there'll be any, if she's from overseas, do you think this will be seen on modern media? And
I hope so.
What led you to the possibility that it was this woman from Belgium? How did you get there?
There are several citizens that help. Keely Denning has been one. She spent a lot of time. She used to be a director with the Doe Network, which she spent a lot of time behind the computers reviewing and researching missing women's cases. I believe that may have came in from the Doe Network site and possibly through her. If it wasn't for the citizens that helped on the outside of this, there's no way the sheriff or I or any of the rest of the investigative team here could sit there and spend that long behind a computer to look at these. So we're very appreciative of those leads that come in. I'm pretty sure that lead came in through the Doe Network. It was found on a website from overseas.
And when did that happen?
I don't have an exact date, but
With
it's,
so many of the dental records being close, do you guys, I mean, are you leaning towards that more than likely being the victim?
at this point, I couldn't tell you one way or the other whether it would be. As Sheriff Solden mentioned, the female over there had teeth that our Jane Doe did not have, but our Jane Doe had recent dental work that was done on her shortly before her death. So if the teeth were present in the lady over there but missing in our woman over here, that might be one explanation with the recent dental work. But it's one of those that we really needed the samples for the DNA that we could update that DNA technology.
Can you tell us? Go ahead.
One thing on her profile that I've learned through like the Department of Justice on her NEMA's case file, she was possibly pregnant before. Has that ever been explored? Have you looked into anything of the possible child being connected to her?
In the forensic autopsy, they noted that she had had childbirth. She had had at least one child. Recent, I don't know. There was nothing in there that said, they'd give a time frame how recent, so we don't know.
One thing that, for me, looking at it, I mean, a case from '86, pulling and exhuming the body, are there complications with pulling DNA from something so old? Do you know of anything like that?
Not a forensic scientist, but
Sure.
I could tell you it seemed to be our best option right now at this point to even, to try. Now, if it gets to the lab and they decide that the samples are too degraded, we may have lost that opportunity, but obviously they draw DNA from bone samples much older than what hers would be, so.
Sheriff, were you a deputy in '86?
Nope, that was before I started. It
Okay.
was 2 years before I started.
Okay. I thought maybe you had a chance to be there.
Nope. I
Mike,
wasn't.
were you at that crime scene when the body was discovered?
No, I was 5 years out of high school
Okay.
and not even here yet.
Sheriff, I'm sure your first goal is perhaps to find out the identity for closure, perhaps for a family. What about leading to a suspect? That was 33 years ago. Suspect may still be alive or not.
They may very well be, and that's, finding out what her history is and where she came from, we're hoping does lead us to a suspect. It's not a far stretch to say that their family might know who she was with or what she was doing in the States if she's from out of the States, or if it's someone in the United States, if we can get a family match and You know, someone just said, well, my wife just left me, you know, maybe that's, we don't know what that tie might be, but finding out who she is would be a good first step.
Was there ever a chance of her being a possible human trafficking victim? Was that ever looked into?
We really don't know what her circumstances were. She had some high-end clothing, so we felt, you know, at the time that, and with the dental work she'd had, that she'd been pretty well taken care of at some point in her life, so, but we don't know. You know, we'd love to know where that dental work was done. I mean, that would be great, because then we could get that done, but it's not the situation we have.
If it was in your brief, I missed it. What, the cause of death, was that listed, or? do you know the
Drowning.
cause?
Drowning.
Trauma?
She drowned.
She drowned.
Yes.
And would it be safe to assume the drowning occurred there at Mulberry Creek?
I would assume that would have been the location, but nothing in the report suggests that was the spot.
What about the scene suggests foul play? Forgive me if that's a silly question, but if she just drowned, what makes you think there was foul play?
She'd been beaten. She had injuries that weren't just from the fall. So she had some head injuries prior to being thrown or falling off that bridge, so.
If I might add just a little bit to that, January, back in 1986, obviously January's cold. Her dress wasn't appropriate for her being out in that weather.
What was she wearing?
Partially clothed. She just had a pair of sweatpants on, a brassiere, and a pair of knee-high hose, no shoes. So it was obviously, she just wasn't out walking when this happened.
And I'm sure lots of people know this. I'm kind of new to Kansas, so I'm not familiar with it. But how was she discovered? Who discovered her, and what were the circumstances there?
My understanding was a passing truck driver had called it in. I've always wondered how he saw it from the highway, but, you know, I don't know. So, you know.
That's good for me.
Good.
Good. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.